now I wanted to demonstrate some of the other functions that are useful for the computer, one of which is the ability to quickly rename a number of files. I'm now going to plug in a USB drive of random pictures that I had taken earlier. Each one of these is just full of random items, taken posed on a wooden desk, in different positions and rotations. However, you can notice that when I leave here, each one is tagged as the camera's numbering system, image 349 through image 362. Now this is a little bit confusing. Say if I was unloading an entire memory card's worth of information full of people's birthdays, field trips, road trips, family vacations, etc. So I'm going to move these into a folder here on the desktop. I'm going to rename them into random files, or files with the name of random. Now this would be a little bit troubling if I was to click on each one, or highlight it and go down to rename, or if I click on one, leave it like it is and press the function 2 or F2 key. This can be a little bit cumbersome to do for every single one of them. So fortunately there's a program called ReNamer. You can see its website here. You can also just go into Google's search terms and type in ReNamer. ReNamer itself is a program that will allow you to rename any number of programs or files or folders according to whatever criteria you give it. So right here you can see I have the installer. I'm going to have it launch, and it will bring up a window with two panes. The one that will be on the top is the one where I can add the different rules of how I want the files to be renamed. On the bottom will be the area where I can drag and drop files that will be renamed. And so here's the commands, or the program. I'm going to drag and drop all of the pictures of random files and objects into the lower pane. And when I click here to add a rule, I can see that I can, if I wanted to, insert a digit, say 001, after each image, and it will insert 001 before each image because I told it to insert as a prefix. If I wanted to change it as a suffix, then I would change it to that. Also, you notice that it does not include spaces on its own. You would have to do that yourself. So it will automatically preview what each one would look like. However, since I'm going to be renaming all of these, I'll first want to remove each of the existing file names. So I'm going to go to delete, and from position, this is the starting position of where it will begin deleting, and I'm going to choose from until count 1, which will just delete the first character in the file name. I'm going to tell it to delete till the end, and when I do this, it's going to give me a warning because of duplicate file names, because you can't have several file names, each with the file name of blank. So I'm going to go back to add, and I'm going to tell it to serialize, and now it's going to make a file name for each one that it builds incrementally. Each index, or each number will start with the index of 1, and if I need to, I can make it so that it's at least 2 digits long. The first digit will be 0, and so when I add this rule, it will start naming each one 01 all the way down to 014, or just 14. And because I want to know what kind of files these are, I'm going to choose Insert again, delete this, and replace it with Random Photos. And from here, it will rename each one Random Photos. However, I've left it as the suffix, so I want to change it back to prefix. And now that it's prefixed with that, it will serialize and name every single one of these using those criteria. Another thing you can do is if you have a number of files, say I want to preview this and rename. If I go back to the folder that they were in, you can see that they've been renamed sequentially. However, if I already know these are photos and I do not want the word photos to be included as the file name, I can delete these. Choose add, and if I need to, I can replace or remove a specific line of text from here. You can choose whether you want it to be case sensitive or not. And I'm going to add the rule, and it will now rename each one to just random followed by a number. You can also choose to replace the word photos with something else. And so now you can see it's been renamed to that. I'm going to choose rename, and going back to the files, they've been renamed to this. Now, another problem sometimes occurs when people are clearing off old memory cards. They accidentally delete something from the card thinking that it was already copied to their computer, when in fact they had only deleted it from the card without copying it. A program that will help you to recover files is literally named Recuva. It's also by the same company that produces CCleaner, and if you choose to download, you can get it from another number of places. I have it in the installers list again. And I'm going to go with the default installation again for most of these. I do not need any of these boxes checked because I already have it installed and I'm just overwriting the previous installation. Once again, I do not want to check any of these boxes for miscellaneous toolbars or extra browsers I don't need. I'm going to choose to tell it to run. Now, there is a checkbox in the corner that says do not show this wizard on startup. However, it's easier and better to keep the box unchecked when you start this program. It will allow you to find files better. Now, it gives you the option of being able to choose what kinds of files you think you may want to recover. Just for the sake of being meticulous, I'm going to tell it to choose other, click next, and when I want to choose a specific location, I'm going to browse. And instead of using my actual hard drive, I'm going to use the removable E drive that I plugged into the USB port. Click next, and you may or may not want to enable deep scan. Enabling deep scan will scan it much more thoroughly. However, I'm not going to demonstrate that as the end results will essentially be the same. Now, the different colors here correspond to the different recoverabilities of the different files that you have on whatever the source of the scan is. In this case, you can see they're very poor to recoverable. I'm going to choose to rearrange these. You can see near the top the image 349 through image 362. Image 351, however, is poor, and you can see the reasons for why they may or may not be recovered is because the files in this case has been overwritten with the folder information that the other files up here have been written on. Since there's no overwritten clusters here, I can choose to highlight these and checkbox those. I can choose to recover them. However, I'm going to demonstrate advanced mode for a moment, in which case you can see the information or the header, or in case of files or photos, however, you can click on this and you can be able to see a preview of the information if it's recoverable enough. Now I'm going to highlight these and choose recover, and it will ask you where you want to deposit the files that are recovered. You do not want to put them in the same location that they are being read from, because you will, in that case, just overwrite the files that are not yet recovered. So in this case, I'm just going to put them on the desktop, or actually in the folder on the desktop, choose OK, and it will begin recovering and depositing those photos in the same folder that I have the renamed ones. Now it says it's recovered them. I can minimize this, go back to the new folder, and they are here in the same information. I can see that in each order they're the same as they were here. And the photos have been recovered. If I double click on them, the information may or may not have been completely restored. That is a risk you take when you try to recover anything from a flash drive or from a corrupt hard drive or anywhere else. In this case, though, I can see that it's recovered most of the photos and the files are completely intact as they were further on down here.